Welcome to the EmpowerHer Wellness podcast. I'm Morgan, and I'm thrilled to be your host and wellness coach as we navigate the path to a healthier, more confident you. As the owner of Get Fit With Me, I bring years of experience in personal training, nutrition, and coaching to each episode. Join me as we explore practical tips and strategies for fitness, nutrition, mindset, and more, all tailored for busy women just like you. Let's empower your wellness journey and achieve lasting transformation together. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the EmpowerHer Wellness podcast. I'm your host and coach, Morgan Ekovich. And today we are moving on to part 2 of our sleep episode with Kelly Myerson. And I am super excited because last week it was for those people who can't fall asleep, those busy brains. And I know there's a lot of you that listen that you fall into that category. I am not one of them. I am somebody, and I'm very lucky and fortunate, I know, to be able to, that head hits the pillow and I am out. I fall in today's category where that 3 a.m. wake up, I don't always know why, but I know that if I look at my phone, it's between 2:30 and 3 every single time. And it frustrates me because why am I waking up? I just fell asleep. I felt really good, and I could honestly get up and get going with my day. But I know that will not be a good thing. So we're going to dive into that here in a little bit. But if you missed last week's episode and you missed episode 23, please make sure you go back and listen. And Kelly is amazing. I'm going to have her introduce herself. She is our sleep expert. So throw it on over to you, Kelly.
Oh my
Thank you
gosh.
for coming back.
I am so excited to be here again, and I'm so excited to tackle this topic with you today. So my background is in occupational therapy, specifically sensory integration therapy. I've been doing that for almost 25 years. It's kind of crazy. It doesn't make any sense. It's like the longest, shortest journey. I don't know how I got here. So that's my background. And I have a very high level of interest in holistic well-being practices. And more recently, I've been into helping people using their voices, being more seen and heard. These are challenging times in the world, and we need more people who are heart-led, who are about raising the vibration of the planet, serving humanity. And so one of the things I like to do as a voice amplifier is help people using their voice more fully and frequently. And on my podcast, the Mystic Nerd Squad podcast, where I interview people who are into everything from spiritual to science and are also lifting humanity. So that's me in a nutshell.
Thank you. I love it. I feel like every time I have you do your bio, I learn something a little bit more. And we even work together on a one-on-one basis. So it's always so fun to hear everything that you have your hands in. And we're going to talk about sleep because you are my sleep expert. I come to you with sleep questions, and you have been our sleep expert here on the Empower Her Wellness podcast. This is our 3rd episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is our 3rd episode this year. Not even since we launched, like just this year in 2025. So let's get into that 3 a.m. wake up. So first, let's start. Why does that happen? Why do some people, they can fall asleep and then all of a sudden, and it may not be 3 a.m., but it's that middle of the night. Why do we just wake up? Like, why does that happen?
Yeah, we're going to break this down. I'm going to tell you off the bat as you're listening, if this is you, that there are some potential contributing factors. So one of them is environmental. The other may be either activities, habits, or things that you ate or drank earlier in the day. And the other could be related to hormone shifts that happen in your body, depending on, if you're a woman, what phase of life you're in. And then I would say the 4th category could be the season that you're in, or it could even be planetary, the moon, those things I just will tell you I found can also contribute. So I think those are the main 4 categories that we can tackle today and talk about some strategies and tips for what to do if you fall into one of those 4 categories.
Awesome. Let's just start with that first category. So, and you listed all 4, and I'm like, I don't even remember what the first one was. I think it was environmental. Perfect.
Environmental.
Yeah. So like,
Yeah.
what does that look like? How can that actually affect us? We're sleeping. I'm in it.
Yeah.
I literally feel like I'm in the deepest sleep ever. And then I like turn over and I wake up and I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah. So let's talk about the environment that is most conducive to sleep. So, first of all, we want it to be cool. So, cooler than we think. Like, if it's
Mm.
too warm, it's hard for your body to stay. We actually drop a couple degrees in temperature when we're falling asleep. So that helps us to fall asleep, to get into that state of rest for our body. And so if our room is too warm, that could be one contributing factor. Or you could be nice and cool when you fall asleep, and either your pajamas, your bedding, the person that's next to you is cooking you and the heat wakes you up. So that could be one sensory factor. Light could be
Mm.
a huge factor. So we really want our bedroom spaces to be as dark as possible, because even the smallest amount of light, a pinhole, your cell phone facing up and the light coming on could be an alert to your body, because our brain is waiting from the dark for those signals from the sun coming up that it's time to get up. So if those signals are happening in the middle of the night, that could be causing you to wake up. The third sensory element could be sound. Does your partner snore? Are there sounds outside? Are you snoring and you woke yourself up? That happens.
Yep.
More often than you would think. So don't be embarrassed if your snoring is waking you up. So right off the bat, let's think about some ways that we can make our bedroom spaces darker, more cool, and having less like surprising sounds that happen in the night. So being cooler, let's reduce that temperature in your home, however you do that, whether you turn your thermostat down, you have a fan, that can be really helpful. Just creating a cooler environment. We want to have the light blocked as much as possible. So room darkening curtains, really make sure that's all closed up. No exterior sources of light. So it's really nice to have those night lights and things in the hallway, especially if you're going to get up to use the bathroom, which could also be another internal environment factor that wakes you up in the middle of the night, so that there's not the likelihood that you're going to have sources of light that come on or are on that are going to alert you. So those are the first thing. And if you're finding there are sounds either in your internal environment, outside, depending on where you live, then you may want to use a sound machine or an app on either your iPad, your phone, your device. They also make them that are just in a small plug-in device. So there's so many different options out there. I think I even have one here that is literally the tiniest little guy.
Oh,
And
cool.
you can turn it on and have white noise, brown noise, pink. There's a million different noises. Who knew? Who knew?
Who
There's
knew?
different
I thought it was just
categories.
white noise, static.
No, there's white, there's brown, there's pink, there's blue. Oh my gosh, I don't know if there's blue, but there's a variety, and we respond differently to different tones. So you can find something on that. Or if you like the sound of crickets, you like the sound of the ocean waves, you can get a little device like this, or you can get an app. There are free apps on your phone. So this is like spend $0 and just get it done. Now, I will tell you, the room darkening curtains are a game changer if you have any kind of outdoor lights. Depending, if you live in the city, you're going to need those, because there's going to be lights happening all the time. The different phases of the moon, it can be brighter outside. So that is a worthwhile investment. If you're going to spend money on anything, I think a good pair, and they're not expensive at all. Again, like super simple, purchase them on Amazon, measure for what you need, and get those up. That really makes a huge difference. And I would say when you install them above the window and outside the window, so you can really cover, so you don't get anything coming from the sides. So those three things: the sounds, the sight, not too much light, and then the temperature, getting it nice and cool. You can play with the kind of pajamas that help you stay cool. If you're dressing too warm, and you're finding you're too warm, they have all kinds of cooling pajamas. Like you can take it as high tech as you want to, but it may be as simple as like, am I sleeping in a t-shirt and shorts, or can I wear long pants or a nightgown that's a flannel type material? Personally, I can't do it. Like I just find I get too warm and that will wake me up, especially if you're having hormonal shifts. So those are
Hmm.
some great factors for your environment.
Before we move to the next
Yeah.
one, I use earplugs. Like if
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
earplugs are my way to kind of like block out some of that sound. If we've had a long day and I know he may possibly snore, like our earplugs do, don't, everybody their own opinion type of thing on that.
Yeah, I think you absolutely earplugs can work. They also have really cool like eye masks you can wear. So that and ones that have eye masks and have the I like I said, you could go super high tech, like just go
Oh, cool.
searching for this stuff because sometimes, like let's say you and your partner go to bed at different times, like you might want to wear a nice silk eye mask so that that's helping you to stay asleep should they need to come in and they disrupt the light in some way.
Got it. And yeah, flannel pajamas, it's not so much that I get hot, but I get tangled in them. If you're somebody who twists and turns, I'm assuming that like that wakes me up. So like keeping some of that in perspective of if you have too many layers on and you know that when if you move from side to side, you kind of get tangled up like a
Mm-hmm.
dog has wrapped its leash around you,
Mm-hmm.
probably think about wearing less would be my suggestion in that.
Yes. Or just wearing things that are less likely to be constricting on your body and are more likely, I mean, they do make really cute onesies and or like the pajamas that have like the jogger style. I
Oh
find
yeah.
those I find the most comfortable pants and then are just like loose fitting, nothing too tight around your midsection. Yeah, nothing that's gonna shift in a way that feels uncomfortable while you're sleeping. And that's an individual thing, what you love to sleep in and what feels good for you. And you can also play with the type of bedding that you're using. So
Mm.
I invested in some bamboo sheets a few years ago. And I
I've
have to
heard
tell
great
you,
things.
I literally have gotten rid of all the other sheets. I have one set of sheets. I take them off, I wash them, I put them back on. It's just a very simple process. But they're the best sheets and they actually get softer the more you wash them. So they're very soft. They're a little bit cooling.
Oh.
They don't tend to get really warm and they wash and wear pretty well.
Oh, if you have a link to that, I think we should
Mm.
put that in the show
Okay.
notes because I've seen people talk about them, but I feel like there's so many. You can go to Amazon, you can find anything, but like they can say bamboo and it can only be 10%. So if you have a pair that you love, like I would love the link and I think others would too, even to try them out. Um,
Yes. Yes. And
yay.
you know what else they have? The fitted sheet has like these elastic bands.
That
So it
keeps
like
it down.
snugs under. Because I don't know if you have like a thrasher in your life, like having like all the bedding come up in the middle of the night doesn't happen with these. And it's so funny, guys. I got to tell you, like, this is probably going to make some of you laugh, but my husband and I, okay, first of all, the thing that keeps our marriage stable is that we always give each other permission if we need a really good night's sleep to sleep separate. So we have like an extra bed in a guest room. Or if my husband, he's a musician, sometimes he works late. And if our sleep cycles are going to disrupt each other, we will say, like, let's just sleep in separate spaces, but we have separate blankets
Mm.
because he only wants one light blanket. And I like to have the sheet and a blanket and another blanket in case I'm cold. And I like my feet tucked in. He does not like his feet tucked in. So worry not. Like you can just have your side of the bed can be the type of setup that you like for yourself. And it says nothing about the stability of your relationship. We could just take that
I
off
love
off
that.
of like the plate. Like it is more normalized now. Like I keep seeing things about like people talking about like spouses having separate bedrooms and like so you could get great sleep, especially if one of you or both of you snores.
Or if one of you is sick, I think that's, we use our
Yes.
spare bedroom for that of like when I'm not feeling well or he's not feeling well, like one of us keeps the bedroom, the other one uses the spare bedroom because like one, we don't want to get each other sick. And two, like when you're up in the middle of the night coughing or sneezing or doing whatever, like you're disrupting the other person. So having even those two bedrooms or having a really nice couch set up, if you don't have the luxury to have two bedrooms, because I know not everybody does, but having some sort of second sleep space for not an every night situation, it sounds like, but for like an as needed, I think that's really important.
It's
I
huge.
love
It
that.
has made such a huge difference. And it didn't take long for us to come to that. I feel like we were just sort of covert about it for such a long time because we were like, what would people think? Like we have separate, we cannot share bedding. Like it does not go well with us, and we just sleep so much better. And then also just acknowledging like sometimes sleeping together is not giving us the best night of sleep for one reason or another. Like you said, the coughing, the snoring. So, yeah, I think giving yourself permission. And let's not forget that if you're a parent, could be your kids that are disrupting your sleep. So we're assuming that the 3 a.m. wake up here is not because somebody came and tapped you on the shoulder, scared the bejesus out of you, and said, I'm thirsty. Right.
Right. Awesome. So that's the environmental. I think the next one you said, and this is just how fun it is that like we don't really plan our calls. We have a topic and we just kind of go with the flow of, I think you were saying what we eat, what we drink, what we consume. So
Yeah.
whatever factor that is.
Yes. And I think there's a lot to that. So it could be as simple as you had caffeine too close into bedtime. And guys, too close into bedtime can be a longer period of time than you think. So, like, for example, we all metabolize caffeine differently. So I know for myself, if I have any caffeine afternoon, it's likely going to impact me. So afternoon, like within 8, 10, 12 hours, you could still have that caffeine in your system and it has a half-life. So it could be less than when you had that cup of coffee and it gave you a nice rejuvenation, but it could be coming back to visit you. Also in that category, and I think I don't have the nutrition background to tell you for sure, but sugar before bedtime.
Oh, yeah.
So my husband and I have been talking about this because it's spring break for me. So we're having a little more treats here and there. And we're both realizing like the nights that we have sugar too close into bedtime, we're like really wired and tired and finding that that's waking us up. So it could be something you're eating or drinking, could be consumption, could be you're keeping your brain too active before bedtime. So like watching, I don't really watch violent movies anymore. I find they just don't really do good things for my nervous system. But are you triggering your nervous system close into bedtime? So you can kind of crash and fall asleep, but your body's not really in a relaxed state. Another consumption element, alcohol. Alcohol
Yep.
puts you in a false state of theta, which we talked about in the last episode, that like feeling like that's why a lot of people enjoy alcohol, kind of it downgrades, makes you feel a little more relaxed. But what happens is when it exits your system, you're not actually relaxed. That was a fake relax. So now you could wake up. So if you're having alcohol too close in to bedtime, which makes it sound like you can't have very much fun before time.
Yes and no.
Yeah.
And this is one of the things, and I fall into very different categories. I could have an espresso martini and like fall asleep within 5 minutes after finishing it because like my brain is wired differently and I don't know why. And it's probably going to bite me in the butt later in life. But when it comes to the sugars and it comes to like a big full meal before bed or the alcohol, it's because we have that blood sugar spike and then it crashes. And when we crash is when we like start to feel some of these certain types of ways. So it makes sense that depending on what you have when, your body's going to metabolize it in the middle of the night, which is going to cause that wake up.
Mm. And if you're someone who suffers from acid reflux, then you may not want to do too much of eating or drinking anything close into bedtime. I try not to eat or drink anything other than water after dinner time because I find I sleep so much better. I'm less likely to experience heartburn and I tend to stay asleep longer. And that's from running the experiment for myself. I think it's for me, for my body. the less it has to be doing when I'm sleeping, the better. So if I don't have to be like really focused in on digestion, and I've just kind of gotten used to that. I fast after then, and it works for me, but I would say run the experiment for yourself. And I do have the luxury. We really do try to keep our dinners. We don't really usually eat any later than 7. So I give myself a good couple hours before bedtime since the last time I ate. And that tends to work really well for me. Other thing that's surprising is exercise, which, if you're exercising, you're doing particularly cardio, like more high impact exercise, you get a lot of happy neurochemistry that makes you feel alert. And that's a lot of times why we want to exercise, because it feels good. It makes our body feel good. But if you're doing that too close into bedtime, then that spike of energy could be interrupting your sleep.
And I think those are good things to remember. We talked about last episode that 2-hour wind down. I think that's just as important that even if you don't have trouble falling asleep, still create that wind down, still try to limit. And I've been talking to a lot of clients recently and non clients. We need to front load our calories earlier in the day when our body's going to use them. But it's traditionally, we think, skip breakfast, have a medium sized lunch, have a big dinner. Well, our bodies don't need that big dinner to what? Sit on the couch, unwind, and then go to bed. We should have a bigger breakfast. So if you notice you're having some of these wake ups, think about what does your meal schedule look like throughout the day? Or even if you are somebody who's like, no, how I couldn't stop eating after 7. I eat the entire pantry from 7 to 9. Take a look at what you're eating earlier in the day. If you're that snacker, you're probably not getting what your body needs early enough in the day. And now it's like, give me anything and everything in my way. It could be a carrot, it could be a candy bar, it could be oatmeal. It doesn't matter. But I think those are really good things to remember when it comes to consumption because we don't think about it. We're like, I don't know, I'm going to eat dinner, I'm going to rest, I'm going to go. But there is a timing in all of that for a reason.
Yeah. And I think making sure we get some fresh air and some movement like in the afternoon, or even like, especially as it starts to get lighter out after dinner, those after dinner walks is a great way to help your body process, digest, get a little bit of movement, get some last minute fresh air, more likely to help you to be ready to fall asleep and stay
Awesome.
asleep,
I love that.
right?
And
Yeah.
stay asleep. So we did environmental, we did consumption. What's a third area?
I think we were talking about hormones. So this is a
Yeah.
particular category for women and individuals that have a reproductive system, whether it's earlier on in life through puberty, through menstruation, and then into perimenopause, menopause. There are cycles that are happening all the time, right? So the ups and downs. And I shared in the last episode that one of the things that I was experiencing was really a significant difficulty sleeping, particularly waking up in the middle of the night. And I suspected it was hormone related. I had the blood testing that showed that. Took a while. I will tell you, I had to do a lot of work to convince my physicians to be open to exploring hormone replacement therapy, which is kind of crazy, but it is the best and most effective treatment when you're suffering. And I was suffering, and it wasn't just the lack of sleep, it was pain in my hip when I was sleeping. Pain was waking me up, night sweats. It was just like feeling like up and down and up and down. It was fatigue, all of these areas, because estrogen in particular has such a huge impact on so many systems in the body. And I was feeling that impact in a big way. And what I'll tell you is I am on a very low dose of estrogen on a patch. And immediately within 48 hours, I felt like I had lost like 10 years of aging.
Wow.
The pain in my hip went away. My pain in my hip was so bad, I couldn't like sit with my legs crisscrossed on the floor. So I couldn't really do like meditation and yoga. I'd have to have like my one leg up. The fatigue was intense. I was literally starting to think like I can no longer be a practicing pediatric therapist because I can't get up and down off the floor with kids. I just felt moody. I felt sad, like, and none of it felt like me. I didn't feel like myself. So immediately I saw a lot of differences. So if you're a woman who is in your late 30s, 40s, 50s, you are probably experiencing some of the symptoms of perimenopause. And I would make sure that you're speaking with your physician, your OBGYN, or a holistic practitioner, which is the route that I went, to look at your blood levels and to consider whether or not there are treatments that will work for you. And listen, I did all the diet, I did all the nutrition. I don't have caffeine late in the day. I was doing all the things that had always worked for me to sleep well. As a sleep expert, I live, eat, and breathe this stuff. And I still was having issues. So I think that is something to consider. There may be times during your cycle, if you're still menstruating, when you sleep better and or worse or need more sleep. So we talked about that too. There's now more research showing that women actually need more sleep. A lot of the research studies, or most, if not all research studies on sleep in the past have been on men. And a lot of this is because it's easier because men have a 24-hour hormone cycle. Women do not. And it depends on the phase of life that a woman is in. So a lot of times women have been excluded from studies because there are just too many. It's too many factors to test. So really now there are a lot of people who are starting to do this testing on women, but do the experiment on yourself. See if you actually need more and or less sleep. Document it, write it down, what time you went to bed, what time you woke up, the quality of your sleep, even if it's just like last night was a star, today was a smiley, a frown, whatever you need to do it simply and easily, but tracking that and really getting a sense of that. Because I think we can also be super intuitive and really read ourselves and figure out ourselves. And that can be really empowering, that you don't need a physician to tell you about your body. You probably know a lot intuitively about it. And we also know if we're doing things that are particularly unhelpful for us for getting sleep. So I think hormones can be like a really big part of it. And I can tell you from my own experience, I tell you work with your own physicians, but it has made like a 180 difference in my sleep. I'm sleeping better. The quality is better. I don't have pain. So I'm not waking up like when I turn on my side and it hurts too much. I had to sleep with like pillows between my legs and extra, like I was doing all of the things and not having any satisfaction with sleep. So it really can be a huge sleep interrupter. And even if it's not the perimenopause, menopause, like regular hormone shifts, really having a difficult time and waking up in the middle of the night like that could be evidence of other disruptions in various body systems. So getting a regular checkup from your doctor, making sure your heart health, your blood sugar, all of those things are continuously monitored. Sometimes we're not really great at taking care of ourselves. And I think for me, it was like a true wake-up call to, one, continue to be tireless advocate for myself and my health and well-being. And two, to keep being curious. Like if something isn't working well, keep going, keep trying different things, and really prioritize your own health and well-being, because that could be a contributing factor.
And I love that you brought up last episode and this episode about the hormone replacement. We had Dr. Elena Owala back on an episode earlier this year, and she is my go-to for hormones. We've done a few in-person workshops together, and she is somebody who helps women advocate for women. And it's through her life experience. She's a doctor, and so if you are looking for somebody, she does telehealth. If you're looking for somebody who's going to help advocate for you, highly recommend checking her out. I will make sure to add her website. I believe it's True Health Solutions in the show notes for today, because you may be like, I've got this one done. I got this one done. Now it's the hormone aspect. And I feel she likes to say, test, don't guess. And a lot of times we do get our yearly blood work, but it's such a generic that, like, I don't know how many times we've all been told, oh, they look normal. Your labs look normal. Well, I feel like shit. So like something is not normal.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
It's really important to, you're right, you are the only one who knows your body as well as you do. Like,
Hmm.
keep record of it. I tell my clients who are 80, he'll be like, "Oh, I had this weird thing." I'm like, "Did you write it down?" No, I'm like, "Go write it down. Write it down next to where you can keep track of your blood pressure. Write down how much water you drink." Because when you start taking more medications as well, which I think could also kind of play into that hormone as well as that consumption time as our body metabolizes things different, that could also contribute to why we're waking up at 3 in the morning of like, oh yeah, I took a painkiller. Now the painkiller is worn off and now here's the pain again.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love that. And I love that you brought that resource in because I think you're right. It's so important. I mean, you can't get a prescription for hormone replacement therapy without talking to a physician. And the blood work that they're going to suggest in order to look at all those levels, because they're going to look at your thyroid, they're going to look at everything in more discrete detail. They're going to look at they looked at everything from, did you have Lyme's disease markers? Because I was having just this broad range of issues. And so getting that full spectrum of blood tests, doing it one and done and getting everything is so important. So I love that you have a resource for people because I think that really makes a difference. And don't stop. If you go to one physician and they give you kind of the poo poo, like you'll be fine, this is normal, that's just not the person who's going to advocate for you. And that's okay, that you can be a conscious consumer and you don't have to use that physician. You can pick somebody different. And I think that being just aware of, you're allowed to say, you're not working for me, I'm going to somebody else.
And just because something is common doesn't make it normal. And
No.
I think sometimes we think it's normal because everybody's dealing with it. It doesn't
Yeah.
mean we have to suffer, whether it's sleep or our hormones or exercise. Like, we created a routine where exercise doesn't seem terrible. Like,
Yeah.
exercise is not your favorite thing. So we created something that makes it fun instead of like this terrible thing that you have to do.
Yes. Yes. So true. So yeah, so that's category 3. And then category 4 was the spiritual moon
Yeah.
cycles, planetary alignment. All right. So listen, this is not for the faint of heart. Like we're going full woo here. But this is what I will tell you. I have spoken with enough people and had my own experiences myself to know that sometimes those middle of the night wake ups are cosmically guided. The moon affects our tides, right? Makes the tides
Hmm.
go in and out. The phases where the moon is, we are a high percentage of water in our bodies, 60, 70, 80, different numbers. So why wouldn't the moon have an impact on us and be pulling us one way or the other? Certainly, the light of the moon, a full moon will definitely, if I can get any piece of that, I know during a full moon, I'm going to wake up.
Hmm.
And it can also be just the general energy in the world, just stuff going on. We're really connected. We're really tied in as human beings. We're part of a whole. And so we can be feeling and experiencing things from the atmosphere spiritually as we're connected that do keep us up at night or do wake us up at night. So that is a possibility. Now, when that happens, when you find yourself awake, whether it's one of those 4 things or you have no clue, let's talk about some strategies and things you can
Yes.
do in that moment. The first thing I'm
Perfect.
going to tell you is you're not going to look at your phone, you're not going to look at the clock. You're just going to take a deep breath. You're going to put your hand on your heart and your hand on your belly. And you're just going to think to yourself, it's okay. I'm okay. It is okay to be awake right now. I am awake for some reason, and it is okay. We're not going to get upset with ourselves. We're not going to get frustrated. We're going to just breathe and be. Because if the worst thing that happens is we cannot fall asleep or can't fall asleep for a while, we're going to focus on resting our bodies. We're going to put our brain to work so it doesn't get busy on us and start going through our to-do list, we're going to put it to work. We're going to do any number of techniques. So you could just keep doing that breathing, just breathing in and breathing out and paying attention to the air coming in and out of your nose. You could focus on relaxing different parts of your body, where you can start at your feet and up to your head, or from your head and down to your feet, and just tensing and holding and relaxing. You could do some graded breathing where you're breathing in for 4, holding for 7, out for 8, which is great if your brain gets busy, because then you're focused on, I'm breathing in 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm holding 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm breathing out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you give your brain something to do. Okay. If you got an ultra busy brain, you've tried all the relaxing, it's not going to work for you. It's okay. I got something for you too. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to put your brain to work, and you're going to visualize the next day going splendidly well, perfectly, from the time your feet hit the floor till you get into bed. And you're going to envision it in bright detail. So like literally imagining you opening your eyes, turning over, sliding your feet to the floor, standing up. You're going to go through everything you do, walking across, going to the bathroom, walking down the steps, turning on the coffee machine, like just envisioning it in beautiful detail, like it's happening right then and there, and go through your whole day. I will tell you, I usually don't make it much past like getting dressed for the day. And if I find my mind wandering into something else, I make myself go back to the beginning, like just and visualize. If you can get through your whole day, oh, God bless you that you have that kind of stamina in your brain. You probably are not very tired, or just really wired. Then go back to the day you just had. Imagine that day from beginning to end. And if there were any details that didn't happen the way you wanted them to, I want you to go back and re-envision those details going the way that you wanted them to. This is also a technique you can use at bedtime if you're having trouble falling asleep. Giving your brain something to do when you have a busy brain, or when you wake up in the middle of the night and you're just feeling really frustrated, it really helps to tell your brain what to do, whether you're counting. You could also count backwards from 300 by threes. Like these are ways that you can, but
I'm not getting very far on that.
You're like 300, 297, 294. Yeah.
Okay, we're done.
So, but what really the good thing about that is that you're putting that busy part of your brain to work, so that you are not thinking all the thoughts about how many more hours, I'm not going to get enough sleep, I'm going to be really tired tomorrow. And if on the regular, you are really focused on getting great quality sleep, every once in a while, having one of these nights for whatever one of the 4 reasons it is, you're going to feel like I tell myself it's going to be okay. You're going to be fine tomorrow. You're going to have your coffee in the morning and you're going to start your day and you're going to do great. You're going to do all the things, that feed your body and your mind during the day. And then you're going to get a great night's sleep tomorrow night. So it's going to be okay. Yeah. I think that also giving yourself permission to just rest. And you can't force yourself to fall asleep in those moments. You're just going to get yourself worked more into a tizzy. So just being like, yep, here I am. I'm awake and I'm breathing and it's going to be okay.
So what I'm hearing is, aside from don't pick up your phone, really don't remove yourself from the situation. Keep yourself where you are and focus on your breathing and regulating our nervous system to help bring us back to a relaxed state. And okay, I love that. And I love the different breathing techniques that you gave and the different ideas, because you're right. Sometimes it's just a blip of like, oh, I woke up, now I'll turn over. So I'm going to go one step deeper on this though. You wake up, you go to the bathroom. Let's say, ideally, I'm guessing we want to make sure we have a night light so we don't have to flip that light on. But if we have to flip that light on, or even with that night light, whatever that is, that's waking us up a little bit more, is there anything we should do prior to stepping back into bed? Or is it be as quick as you can, go to the bathroom, come back, and then get back into that breathing?
Yeah, I would say that. I would say that. And I
Okay.
mean, for some people, they can just kind of half asleep, wander to the bathroom and wander back, and it doesn't interrupt them. But if you find, I mean, you may want to just play with like not drinking so much water prior to bedtime so that that doesn't happen. So your bladder doesn't signal you in the middle of the night. That might help too if it's a chronic issue for you. But for some people, medically or just what physically where their body is at, it's going to happen. Then you might just want to have the lowest level of light you can. Sometimes, like a red light is less likely to
Oh, yeah.
cause you to be alert. So you can put like a red light in your bathroom or just have enough ambient light from outside or from someplace else that you don't have to worry about it being the bright light and turning it on. I mean, some of us can probably just use the restroom in the dark and not have any problem.
It's not so much the restroom for me, but it's the end of the bed frame that I feel
Oh
like I
yeah.
always, I'm like, it
No.
hasn't moved in the whole 6 years we've lived in this house, but it always
No.
seems to be right where my knee is when I'm getting up or coming back to
Uh,
bed.
well, and you realize how much like environmental affordances you take from your vision when you don't have your vision. Yeah, definitely that like keeping your bedroom sparse will be saving you if it's super dark in there, making sure there is nothing that you're going to trip over, no trip hazards in the middle of the night. We definitely don't want that either.
I love it. So we covered the reasons, we covered some solutions. Is there anything we didn't cover or a piece of advice that you want to share with the listeners right now of like whether you listen to part one or part two, like take this piece of advice or hey, if you are that middle of the night, I want to make sure you know this.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is that we've covered a dozen strategies depending on what part of your sleep cycle is not working for you. And I hope that you've picked up from all three of these conversations that we've had that the quality of your sleep is dependent on what you're doing 24 hours a day, not just the hours that you're in bed. So there are so many ways for you to make the ability to fall and stay asleep easier for you. And don't be afraid to be a scientist, to get curious and to try different things, run the experiment for yourself and feel more like that didn't work, that worked. I'm going to try this instead. And not get stuck in the feeling of like helplessness. Like, I just don't, I've tried everything, nothing's working. I feel like that sense of a feeling of just like being completely out of problem solving is also a factor that happens when you're not getting enough sleep. Like that access to cognition is not as strong. So that's when maybe what you need to do is phone a friend, ask somebody for help. You can certainly reach out to me, like throw it at me, and let's figure out what the most natural, tiniest step you can take that's going to help you. And don't be afraid if you're really struggling to just say no to a bunch of things, put
Mhm.
everybody on alert and be like, I'm going to take a nap today and I'm going to just really focus on sleep. And I'm going to take a lot of things off my plate so I can really get to that place because I think that's okay too. To just really make it a huge priority for you, take a little bit of time and give yourself the grace and the time to be able to figure out what it is that you really need to get your best night of sleep.
I love that. And in case people do want to reach out, you are part of our free Facebook group. So for those of you who have not jumped into that and you're like, well, I just want to post a question and feel free to tag Kelly in it. She's in our free Facebook group. That is in the comments below. It's called For Busy Moms. But if you are a busy woman in general, please jump in. But so for me, make sure you're in our free Facebook group. And for Kelly, for people to find you, to reach out, to ask questions, how can they reach you?
Yeah, hop over to Substack. You can find me over there. That's where I'm sharing all the fun content. And also, you can grab my Calendly link and set up a meeting with me. Certainly send me an email. I'm a pretty accessible gal. Like if you want to talk to me, you can find me, you can DM me and we'll get you figuring out what the strategies are that you really need. You don't have to go this alone. listen to these episodes again and just pull out the couple things that make sense for you, for your family, and give it a go. Just try something. Don't be afraid to run the experiment and be like, no, that doesn't work, Kelly. I'm not trying that one again. That's fine. It's cool. Everybody does their own thing and it's totally cool.
I love that. And you're right. Take one thing from the episode. And also, I think one of the biggest things is the reason we feel like we do it alone is we listen and then we try to implement it without sharing with those in our life that we're trying this thing. Just share with your husband, like, hey, I'm going to really try to we're not going to put the overhead lights on. We're going to dim them down starting at 6 o'clock. I listened to this thing. I really want to try it out. Like, tell the family that it's happening. Tell your friend that you're doing this. If you have roommates, let them know, like, hey, I'm really trying to focus on my sleep. I know you guys go out on Tuesdays. Can you really try to make sure that you're as quiet as you can because it's blah, 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 whatever it is? Like, communicate. And if it doesn't work, that's okay. But I think that's why we also start to feel so alone is we don't communicate what we're trying and with fear of being a failure. But like we're just trying something. And that's why both of us are here. If you have questions, reach out to us. And Kelly, any last words before we jump on off here?
Yeah, I think we all deserve a great night of sleep, and we're all at our best when we've had a great night of sleep. So, if this is the sign for you to prioritize your sleep, do it. You will never regret going to bed earlier. I'm telling
No.
you, it is the best feeling in the world to be like, I am cozying up in bed a little bit earlier tonight. And I just know that the version of me that's going to show up for work, for my family, for myself is going to be such a better emotionally stable problem solver. And so that motivates me. And I don't know, it just feels really good to take care of yourself like that. Like you said earlier, parent yourself. Tell yourself, this is time. Let's get to it. Let's get some good rest.
I love it. Kelly, thank you so much for being on for 3 episodes so far in 2025. I know we have more to come. And remember to check out the show notes for anything that I've talked about or anything that Kelly's talked about. She's going to make sure she gets us some links to those bamboo sheets and some of the other things she talked about so that if you are a little bit curious, check them out on your own time. And when you have a chance or you think somebody in your life would really be impacted from this episode or our last episode about sleep, if you know they are chronically fatigued and they're really struggling, send them this episode, share it with them, let them know that they are not alone in this journey. And if you guys ever have any questions, reach out to us. Until next time. Thank you for tuning in to the Empower Her Wellness podcast. I hope you found today's episode inspiring and packed with actionable tips. Remember, your journey to becoming the strongest, most confident version of yourself is just beginning. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode and join our community of empowered women. Until next time, stay strong and stay confident.